Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special After Dark Film Society episode. I'm Ashley.
I'm B.
I'm Chloe.
And I'm Sunny.
Awesome. And today we're discussing two films completely unrelated to Dead Poet Society.
What?
I know what you're thinking. Why would we do that? Well, we as a group decided that the podcast released closest to our birthdays could be any movies we pick. And since I'll be another year older on December 22nd, this episode will discuss two Sean Astin films I hold dear to my heart. The Goonies, which is a 1985 classic loved by many, and Toy Soldiers that was released in 1991 and was missed by most. Today we'll start with Toy Soldiers, since it was a movie I suggested back when we first started watching movies together, and this podcast was only a glint in our eye. I suggested it because it's sort of like Dead Poet Society in the way that it shares the setting of an all-boys boarding school. The two main characters are shipped together, and the lovable group of boys capture your heart in a way only a movie like this can. The biggest difference between the two is terrorist presence. So with that in mind, does anyone want to share the plot?
I can give it a go. I think I watched it last. So it opens in a courtroom in a terrorism takeover situation. And there's a guy who has a judge held hostage. And they kind of tell it through the news reports and what's happening in the courtroom. And you find out, I believe, he's part of a Mexican drug cartel, if that's correct.
Yep.
Colombian drug cartel.
Colombian. The US has so many enemies, so let me keep it straight.
I know.
And his father's been arrested by the US government, and he has some very serious attachment issues because he is like a 40-year-old man, and this sends him insane. And he decides instead of doing like normal things like accepting the fact that this is crime or petitioning the government, he's going to go to an all-boys boarding school in the US, try and find the son of, I think he's related to the case in some way, like as a lawyer or something.
Yeah, he's the son of the prosecutor who sent his dad to prison, I believe.
Yeah, except this kid has been removed from the school already by the US government. So he thinks, hey, this school is full of kids from very important figures, some very important links, so we're going to keep them all hostage until the US government accept my demands. What he doesn't know going into this, because they didn't do their research properly, is this is a school for kids with some serious authority issues, and they're the kind of kids who've been expelled from multiple schools. And then there's a whole plot to defeat terrorism.
Yeah, and that pretty much, you got it covered there. I mean, it's got the same themes of, not towards Dead Poet Society, but any kind of school movie you watch, especially with a group of boys like this. Like, they're all kind of like the edgy bad boys, and they're the top dogs, and they don't listen to anything from anyone. Sean Astin is like the bad boy, which is kind of funny because up until this movie, he's only ever played like the nerdy, dorky kind of kid. And then they were like,
want to get typecasted anymore.
Yes, they're like, let's give him his time to shine.
Give him a mullet and a tank top and little booty shorts.
And then what's funny about this too is like immediately after he's done with this movie, he goes and does Rudy, which is like the ultimate like good boy movie ever.
Out.
But yeah. There's a lot of big names in this, like Will Wheaton plays his best friend, which is funny because Will Wheaton was also Josh Charles' best friend in Pie in the Sky for like 0.2 seconds.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how much credit do we want to give Will Wheaton for being in Pie in the Sky? Like, he just accidentally wandered on the set and they were like, oh yeah, you can be in this for 2 seconds.
Yeah, that was wild of Will Wheaton, actually. Definitely a weird pull for him. What's crazy about this movie too is they really don't hold back on like the violence and the gore like at all. Like you see everything. Like the first scene is them dropping that judge out of a helicopter like to his death, and you see all the like bodies dead on the ground. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, there's a guy that gets shot in the head. This guy that gets shot in the chest. It's a lot of people getting shot.
It's not like catch-up wounds like some of the movies we've discussed. Like this is fully blood pouring out of people.
Yeah.
Out kind of.
If you see the exit wound of a bullet, like Keith Coogan's also in this. He is from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, and he plays the character Snuffy, who's known for his allergies. So another kind of similarity to Dead Poet Society in that way.
Oh, what's that kid's name? Spitz or whatever.
So they call him Spaz, but then I got not yelled at, but I was informed in our Discord group a while ago that that's not appropriate anymore, and I forget the name they give him.
Yeah, I forget the like fandom name for him, but that's how he's credited.
Yes.
Yeah. He can just be Sneezy or something.
Yeah, I like that actually. Sneezy is good. Sneezy and Snuffy. They're like the seven dwarfs. So what's funny about this movie is they don't have like a cave to go and read poetry, but they have this like basement that they sneak down to, and Sean Astin goes to Radio Shack and finds a way to rig into the telephone line, and he calls a phone sex girl with all of his friends in the basement while they drink alcohol that's disguised in a mouthwash bottle. The scene is kind of uncomfy to watch, and I've only ever watched the movie like alone, and last night I was brushing up on it and Aaron was with me, and I like realized I was like uncomfortable watching it with him in the room next to me. I was like, oh god, because like they really don't hold back either. Like it is a phone sex girl on the phone and she's saying what she's saying.
Yeah, and I mean I've never used a phone sex hotline. I don't know. I'm sure they still exist, but it is, I would say it's like a parody of what they would be like. But again, I don't actually have a reference point for it, but it is like she's doing the whole, oh my god, you sound so attractive. I'm naked. Oh my god, like it's really, I mean, I think it's uncomfortable because it's teenagers, like, you know, not that like teenagers don't/can't have sex, but you know that they are not supposed to. Also, how my understanding is you have to pay for that. You can't just like call them for free.
Wait a minute, you're right. So already we found an inaccuracy there.
Well, I wonder if like is he making the school pay for it?
It's just connected, like put it on our tab, our charge through the phone number. But of course, because they're on the phone and this is old school, the dean notices the line is busy on the phone on his desk, and he picks it up and he hears the naughty words of this woman who's like just the whole time she's just
like from beginning to end is on the verge of orgasm.
Yes, like he just says like his name is Steve and she's like, "Oh, Steve, I love that.
I'm blonde. I'm blonde and black."
Yes, I'm blonde.
Employee of the
month. But the dean, of course, cuts the power and he goes down to the basement and he finds all the boys, and then that's when he discovers the mouthwash is alcohol, and he makes Sean Astin, his character named Billy, go and retrieve all of the bottles that he sold to other students. And this gets Sean so mad that he takes the headmaster's entire office and puts it exactly the way as it was set up in the middle of the quad.
Well, then they're punished. They're punished into doing that, and then he gets put on like dishes duty. Yeah, he has to wash dishes. The like pig slop that they serve these private school kids.
Oh, it's disgusting. It's disgusting to even watch in the movie. I would never ever touch that food. I would never eat it.
Yeah. It's I mean, public school food in America already isn't great. You know, obviously it depends from school to school, but I feel like I went to a pretty good public school and it wasn't even good there. So, I mean, I always imagine private schools food being better, but every time I watch a movie set at a private school, they're always like, "Ugh, the food." Like, like so I don't know if they're getting like powdered scrambled eggs or something. Like, yeah, the disgusting like
Either way, it's vaguely like prison
yeah,
food.
like the
That's
disgusting
that's what it
hotel, like wet, soggy. Anyway, um, the plot really kicks in when the terrorism starts, so I feel like we can just hop to there.
Yeah, which is right now. Because I think of course, I literally just watched this last night and now I'm blanking. I'm pretty sure Billy is doing pots and pans when the
Yeah,
terrorists show up to the school. And the the way they come in is crazy because they just come in, they shoot the guard at the front gate, and then they immediately just start rigging
so
bombs
can I
around the
say
entire
so
place. Like they wasted
can I say
no.
something? Again, like the my insight to this is I went to private school. Well, I went to a private school for a singular year, for like international students. Um, and there is not just one guard at a private school. Like even I didn't go to like a boarding school either. Mine was just a day school. And there were guards all over the place because there were kids there who had parents who worked in the government or worked at an embassy or whatever. And there were people like that school was locked the fuck down. There's not just one guy at the gate who could very easily get shot, especially in America where they have guns. And then,
Yeah, and I didn't even think about this until now, and Chloe mentioned it, but like this school is full of like the richest families' kids in the world from all
exactly.
over the country. Like that's kind of the whole point. And you would think that like especially Will Wheaton's character, he plays the son of Jerry Orbach, who obviously everyone knows who he is. Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast, Baby's dad. Like Sonny mentioned to me earlier, he was a detective in Law and
Very.
Order. And he plays like a
He
mafia
plays
boss or something
the
in New
yeah,
York
the
City.
mafia, the New Jersey mafia boss, like of the whole state,
Yeah. Yes. And he's like
known for killing people.
his son is just casually at this school, which this school takes place in Virginia, which they don't really mention, but like a mafia boss from New York City sent his son to this boarding school of all schools in the
Yeah,
entire
like
country.
near
Like they have one guard.
like the country's capital, the New Jersey mafia boss of the whole state, who they know he's the mafia boss because they say it at least twice, and they go, he's the mafia boss. And, you know, like the mafia, they aren't just like the whole thing of the mafia is they commit murder. Like I don't think I'm being a stereotypy when I say that. That's kind of their whole thing is they break laws to get what they want. And he's
Mhm.
sending his kid to a school that it's in Virginia, so I imagine it's near the US Capitol. Like it's just kind of
And they
bizarre.
have
Like
one
I feel
guard.
like you'd want to be a bit more low key than that. Like I understand he's trying to protect
Yeah.
his son, but at the same time,
They kind of show him order someone to die, and his orders are carried out, and that person is killed pretty much immediately in a secure location. So they kind of show the power of the gangsters. And then they're like, but his son is behind this one guy with a gun. The kids sneak out all the time and deface the sheriff department's vehicles, so it's so secure and safe.
And he's not like the only one. He's the example I use, but I believe Snuffy's character, because there's a scene where the main guy, the guy that's doing all this, who's trying to get his dad back, is going through their files, and he's asking them to confirm the information in their files. And he goes to like Snuffy and he's like, and your father is like the vice chairman of like the Republican Party. Like these are all kids with like highly influential parents.
Which I think is that's mainly why they stay and make it a hostage situation instead of fleeing, because they realize they have a lot of leverage with the people who can or who could negotiate. But the US military who like shows up, because they're like, we got a hostage situation. They do what they do best, which is jack shit, and the rest of the boys who, as mentioned, are all not real big on authority and being told what to do, like take matters into their own hands, which it leads to the most like convoluted, like they're trying to get a message out to the headmaster. They're like trying to their plot is so complex to get out of the terrorism hostage situation. I'm honestly surprised more people didn't die. Because can we get a kill count? The security guard dies. Doesn't one of the teacher get shot?
Mystery teacher.
And then there's the one we haven't revealed yet that gets shot. And
yeah, one of the students.
So there's at least, I would say, within the school, 3 to 5 deaths, which for terrorists taking over that big of a school just doesn't feel right. But I mean, I guess it's a good thing there wasn't more. But
it killed more of the military than the actual hostages, which is accidental, actually.
Well, so like I watched Narcos and I've like read up a little bit about it, I don't know if this was supposed to be like a parallel to like Pablo Escobar, but like going on US soil wasn't really part of like drug cartels' plans. Like they kind of the reason that a lot of them stayed in Colombia was because a lot of their laws and law enforcement were so lax that they could blow up a building and pretty much get away with it. And it was a lot easier for them to not get noticed. And like one of the things, like Pablo Escobar was always trying to negotiate with the US government. And what he would do was he kind of worked with what he had within Colombia. And I mean, he had so much fucking money. Like so much money. I think he has more money than we have numbers. And he didn't go to the United States to hold people hostage. He would just hold people hostage in Colombia because law enforcement didn't really know how to deal with him. So I'm like kind of interested in the choice to have this drug cartel, these bosses, go to America to hold up this private school. Like, I understand why in the context of the movie they're doing it, but just like as a bigger picture, what did they think was gonna happen?
I mean, their plan was also really convoluted because part of the plotline is that every hour on the hour, they would count everyone in the school. They let all the teachers go. So there's the headmaster and then these 92 children. And consequence of not having 92 people in that hall was that they would kill 5 for every 1 that was missing. How does that make sense when they're keeping them hostage because of who their parents are to then go and kill them off?
Yeah, because it's not. I guess. I mean, I guess it's to make sure the kids aren't doing anything, or like they aren't, making plans with their parent. Like, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Because, I mean, Sean Astin does go out to give a message to the military and is late coming back, and he fakes it like he was in the shower and didn't hear the bell.
But
But
she
like,
really commits.
yeah, anything like that could have been happening. Someone could have been in the bathroom, or could have been, who knows where someone gets stuck, or yeah, it doesn't really make sense. And then also when their like whole shit gets foiled by the group of 16-year-olds, it's like they go down so easily. Like, again,
There's a kid named Yogurt, and I'm convinced that's where all the power
so the
came from.
kid named Yogurt foils the plan.
Yeah, so Yogurt is a part of the head counting thing. They also shove like 8 boys into dorms together that aren't even their own. And conveniently, Sean Astin and his whole group of friends get shoved into Kid Yogurt's room with his roommate, which his roommate is not important. They say his name like once and he's barely there. Um, but Yogurt has this toy plane that has the same remote control that matches the one that the drug cartel has rigged to the bombs outside the school.
Okay, can we talk about that for a second? The control mechanism in the the plane that he's rigged to like a dartboard to fly up is the same as the one that is in the bomb, that is not only, if you rig that, it's rigged to the guy's watch or whatever, he presses it, the bomb goes off. It also makes all the other bombs they've placed in the school go off. And look, we don't need to get into like how flimsy weaponry laws in America can be, but like, what the fuck does that mean? That like he just buys this toy plane in a store and he can rig it to be a bomb. Like a full bomb, not like a little firecracker. Like
yeah, they definitely are a little too
school.
casual about that, but like, hey, also you can buy at the store the same thing you could rig up to explosives, but
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, like, because that stuff has happened before. I'm not ignorant to that, but usually it's like you can rig a small bomb to become a big bomb. Like you can rig a small gun to be a bigger gun. I'm confused. I'm confused. And then also, where's the drug cartel getting their bombs that it's like it could be so easily replaced by something that is in the fucking school?
The budget went on the rocket launcher. Everything else had to be cheap after that.
No, because honestly, like, you know how I said they don't really hide the gore in this movie either? They don't hide the weaponry either. Like, the biggest guns, bazookas, snipers, like, anything you can imagine, they just bring them right in, they set them up, they're shooting them off, they're just having a field day at this boarding school.
They don't shoot people once. They make dartboards of everyone that they shoot. Like, they really use the machine guns to their full potential.
I don't know this for certain, but I'm almost certain that this movie was probably sponsored by the US military. That's why it looks like this.
They really it's kind of funny almost, like, watching them. Like, they immediately come in and they go into, like, the towers of the boarding school, and they're, like, setting up, like, their bazookas, and it's like, "What the hell?"
One thing I do want to say though is when they have the whole plot line involving Yogurt and he's coming out of the like hatch in the ceiling they used to crawl into the headmaster's office and like defuse the bomb. When the guy comes in with a gun and catches them, they like tackle the guy, kick the gun away, and then Yogurt ends up picking it up, and then he fumbles and drops it. And all I could think was Ethan Hawke yelling, "You never!"
gun. Yeah, there are a lot of
Drop a gun.
there are a lot of dropped guns in this. I was thinking that too. How many of them get
Yeah.
dropped and like nothing happens?
Yeah.
Never drop a gun. You never drop a gun.
What's funny about this movie too is like we said, they portray these kids as, you know, kids who don't like authority, don't like school. They've been expelled from other schools multiple times. They're so smart when it comes to their plan they put together. Like Will Wheaton's character is like this phenomenal artist that puts together a notebook of all of the terrorists' faces, and then they take over duties because they give the kids duties to bring the terrorist lunch, like so they could figure out where the boys are, or, like the terrorists are in the school, and they're located at their posts. And then their one friend Ricardo is Spanish American, so he understands them, so he figures out like all of their names, and then they come up with like an actually decent plan. I mean, it's inaccurate to real life, but for this movie, an actually decent plan. And it's like, I thought these kids were burnouts. What's going on?
Yeah, like the whole thing is that they're rejects and they either flunk out or get kicked out for misbehaving. Like, I guess it kind of makes sense because then they're in the terrorist situation and they plot to misbehave against the people holding them hostage. But they do it in like a very sophisticated way. Like they were in military school or something. Like if this happened at a military school, I think a lot of that would make a lot more sense. But like you said, it's just like yeah, it's a whole thing. But
Speaking of military school thing too, what's kind of funny is the movie Major Payne, I don't know if any of you seen it, Damon Wayans 90s movie, was also filmed here, and it is portrayed as a military school. So
interesting.
That's
fascinating.
You know, foreshadowing, maybe
Yeah.
they watched this. This is where we got to film Major Payne.
I think the main thing that I remember when we watched this together, and then when I watched it the other day, was not the like headmaster, but like the vice headmaster, the African American one who
He's the dean. The headmaster's the one that's trapped in the school with them, and the African American gentleman is the dean.
The dean.
The random English man is the headmaster.
Yeah. He gets like shot in the chest trying to defend Sean Astin. And this is like at the very end, and he carries him out and he's like, "Oh, Dean, I'm so sorry. I was such a pain in the ass." And it's like played like he's about to die. But then Sean Astin goes, "You think all of this, like stopping terrorism, can get me off of pots and pans?" And the dean is like, "No." And they laugh. And then the dean is never seen again. He is full on shot in the heart, like on the left side of his chest. They make a joke, and then he is never seen or heard from again. And Sean Astin runs out, and all of the kids are free, and they're all like, "Where's Sean Astin? He was with the terrorists because he was like he was about to get shot and blown up by the main drug guy." Who, by the way, in a prison riot, his dad dies anyway.
Yeah, literally.
So
Like all of this for nothing, low key.
yeah, well, all of it literally for nothing. His whole plan was to get his dad out of prison, and his dad just dies anyway. Um,
Yeah.
which at that point, I feel like his plan was should have been, all right, now I have to take over the thing and I have to leave because I don't know that Colombia had an extradition treaty with, or still has an extradition treaty, definitely not still with America. Um, that was kind of the whole reason Pablo Escobar stayed in Colombia was because the, he wouldn't have they might have made an exception for him because he like literally flooded the streets of America with cocaine and like destroyed so many people's lives and killed a lot of people, including US military and US officials. Anyway, um, his plan to just blow himself up with Sean Astin does not make sense. But anyway, Sean Astin goes out and they're all like, "Where's Sean Astin?" And then they hug, and it's like a very meaningful moment. And then it's just like you get a scenic shot of the school where all of the kids are looking to reunite with their parents, and the credits roll. And I just have to wonder, like this school, like everyone is getting sent to a new school. They are not just sending their kids back to the
Oh yeah, not a chance. Not a chance. And also the reality is like the school is not opening back up for classes tomorrow. Like they're shut down for a bit.
You know, and I won't get into it, but like when a tragedy happens at an American public school, it's usually like, all right, we're gonna shut down for a couple of weeks so that, you know, we can all get our shit in order. And then, you know, they go back and it's this whole thing of going back to the school. Like as many tragedies have happened in American public schools, I can't think of one where there was like full on hostage situation. Like I don't really think Columbine counts because they didn't take hostages. There were people in the school when that was happening. But like they Columbine is still up and running. Should it be? Probably not. But yeah, I don't know how you go back from that. You either just tear down the whole school and do something else with that, or you gotta maybe up the security from one security guard
Yeah, literally.
because one security guard's clearly not sufficient. Like they're gonna sue the fuck out of this school, and they have like the greatest lawyers. They got US prosecutors who have kids that went there. Like this school is absolutely fucked.
Yeah, the school's
Even
done
like
for.
Dead Poets Society, after Neil's death, isn't there a line where they say schools get shut down for this? And that's kind of not on the same level, but halfway there. Like, I can imagine a kid gets killed in the school and it's a murder and it's a hostage situation. That school's not opening.
Yeah.
Nobody is sending kids there anymore.
Yeah, that place is done. Especially because, so we definitely need to cover this after the boys formulate this plan and Sean is able to escape and give it to the military and make it back just barely in time. That is when Will Wheaton's father, the mafia boss,
Jerry
reaches out, yeah, and decides to pay the guy to let Joey go, which is Will Wheaton's character's name. And Joey, who's made it clear this entire time he is not proud of his father, he does not like his father one bit, is like pushed over the edge because he does not want to leave behind his friends. So in response to this, he knocks out one of the guards that is like walking him through the halls, steals his gun, runs out into the quad, and just starts firing it in the air. Not expecting them to all, like the 5 other terrorists that are watching the quad, all just immediately shoot him down.
Yeah.
Like, what did he think was gonna happen? And so then instead of leaving the school safely, all of his friends watch him get brutally murdered on the steps, which this is Sean Astin's best friend. And like I said, in my intro there, for people that do know this movie, they ship Sean's character with Joey. And it's kind of like not exactly the same thing, but like your Neil dying moment, and then you look at, Todd Anderson, who's never going to have that person in his life again. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, this is one of the most important people in Sean's life, and he just died in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes Sean want to give up on the plan. Like, he's like, guess we're never escaping this. We're just stuck in here until the military figures it out.
And the military does not figure it out.
Literally.
Because his father is dead in the prison riot that I think Joey's father had a hand in creating.
Yeah,
So the government.
I think he
Yeah,
he asked someone to kill him, right?
Yeah, because Joey died.
Yeah. And so, I mean, honestly, like, it wasn't the movement we wanted, obviously, because a student died, but the mafia boss had more movement in getting something to happen than the US military did. So basically what I'm saying is we should have a mafia boss run the country.
Now that's an idea.
Just get the Godfather.
But yeah, after that scene, the other boys won't let Sean give up. They're like, no, dude, like, we got to go through with this. We've set a plan with them, and we got to do it for Joey. We got to do it for our boy, kind of thing. And then that's when it leads into the switching the remote out with the plane and the bomb. And it's definitely one of those things we can't describe that part. You just got to watch it.
Yeah.
Just watch it. It's free on Roku TV and Tubi. You just got to deal with ads.
It's on YouTube.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, slay. So there you go. See, you can get this movie very easily.
Yeah.
It's not the best movie in the world. I love it, but I mostly love it because of Sean Astin. But
15-year-old me had seen this movie, I would have been a Wattpad quicker than you could.
Oh, I was. There's maybe like 10 fics on there. I've read them all multiple times. And I have contributed multiple times. Actually, AO3 has a lot of stuff too, but it's more, which not surprisingly, it's more Billy Joey romance, which is fair. That's what it's for. So I've read a few of those ones as well. The only other thing I think I want to mention about this movie is that it's actually a book to screen adaptation, which I didn't know for the longest time. And they definitely don't make it clear at all. Yeah. So then one of the first things I did was go to eBay to buy the book. And I haven't fully read it, but it is like scarily accurate. Like, they did not change a lot.
That's interesting.
Which is like thinking about Double Vision. It was like,
do you know
Oh, no.
do you know if the author of that book like had a hand in writing the script, or like was an executive producer or anything?
You know what? I didn't look it up. I should have, but that could be a reason as to why.
Because unless there's like just someone on the crew who's a dedicated fan to adapting their favorite book. Why would that be someone's favorite book?
I mean, either way, I found a copy, and it's the only one I ever found that actually is like, when they changed the cover to like the movie poster and it says like now a major feature film. I have that copy of the book. I just need to find the time to actually sit down and read it because it would be fun to compare.
How long is it?
I have it in my hands right here. 376 pages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty thick book. It's like, it's a Reader's Digest selection.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like one of those, like, this is maybe niche to like my childhood, but it's kind of like one of those books that would be in like the magazine thing in a bathroom when you went to somebody's house.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
it's
go
like
off.
a airplane book.
Yes, yeah, like, you know how, like, magazine racks were, like, really big in, like, a early Y2K bathroom? Like, this is
No,
what you find in it.
that's not hygienic.
You
Oh
never
my
had
god,
that? Oh my god, there was, like, a
no,
magazine rack in everyone's bathroom, bro.
I know
You
no.
what
needed cereal.
I know what you're talking about. I did not personally have that. All of my mom's like home and garden magazines were in this just giant like steel bucket, and we would its only purpose really was just to weigh something down. So anytime like we needed to get a stain out of the carpet, we would like, put whatever we needed on it and then cover it with a towel. And that's all that was used for. And we did not put magazines and books in the bathroom.
So that is so interesting to me because, like, obviously before cell phones, like, and you wanted to read or do something while you're in the bathroom, like, that was common. Like, all of my aunts and uncles, I don't recall a bathroom in my childhood where you didn't go in and there wasn't some sort of like magazine rack next to the toilet. I'm not joking.
It's not, I guess it's not, I I realize what you're talking about. I know what you mean. I guess in my head, it was people would bring the newspaper into the bathroom to read it.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been in the rack there too, so.
So you're telling me these movies where someone has like a book in the bath or a newspaper on the loo, that came from the bathroom itself?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was not my childhood.
No.
That's what
Yeah, actually, I think this might be an original experience.
I'm gonna go find. I know this magazine rack is still in my house. I am gonna find it and send you all a picture because this is a thing. I swear to God.
I believe you. Like, I can kind of picture what you're saying. I've just never seen that with my own eyes.
Yeah.
She's like, guys, did I just age myself? No.
Hey, it's your birthday episode.
It's my birthday episode.
The closest equivalent I can think of is the fact that my stepfather just has a pile of car magazines in the washroom because he will just keep taking them in and then they never come
Yes.
out.
Same.
But I don't recall going to other people's houses to peruse their washroom magazine rack.
What kind of reading material you got in there? I gotta go.
Nah, actually, you don't have any Archie comics. I'm gonna
You
hold it,
don't have
thanks.
the Reader's Digest copy of Toy Soldiers? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I'm gonna start keeping like instead of donating books I don't want anymore, I'm just gonna keep a box of them in my bathroom so people can read the shitty books I own.
That shitty.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like
I'm
that was the
saying
joke I was
before there
making.
was doom scrolling TikTok, there was reading on the toilet.
Yeah,
So
just reading Toy Soldiers.
on the toilet.
Sorry, babe, I can't read this book you actually gave me because I'm not actively shitting right now.
Okay,
Well, now that we went on a tangent about that, I figure we can move on
yeah,
to the
yeah.
next one.
Yeah.
Everyone is ready. So next up is The Goonies, which is an all-time favorite of mine. It's a Steven Spielberg and Richard Donner cult classic starring big names like Josh Brolin, Corey Feldman, Ke Huy Quan, Cary Green, and more. You can't bring up 80s movies without at least mentioning this kid's action adventure film because it paved the way for so many more. It truly was the blueprint and is a comfort film of mine to this day. That's why I love and appreciate my dear friends who are willing to watch it or rewatch just so I could yap about it. Especially because it has nothing to do with Dead Poet Society in any way. Does anyone care to share what they thought? I promise you won't hurt my feelings. Maybe.
It's also a childhood movie of mine. One of my prized possessions is a action figure of Sloth.
Are you serious, Bob?
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Okay, I'll send you a photo. It's at my house.
Oh
right
yeah.
Are we gonna talk about Sloth?
now.
Because
Hey,
Yeah.
guys.
because I mean, sloths are notorious for being slow, they name the mentally slow character Sloth.
It's very 80s. They were
Look.
not holding back. They did not give a shit, bro.
Yeah, I can tell. And then like Data, who's my favorite, he's the Asian one with all the gadgets, and he's supposed to be like it's not like he's supposed to be the like super smart one, 'cause none of the kids are very smart, but he's I don't know. I really like that character. Data's probably my favorite one. Oh, also the Italian family being
Yeah,
in the
Elliot.
mob or whatever.
And it's the return of Robert Davi, who we have spoken about before.
No.
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 Yeah, and Under Surveillance. That was yeah, classic performance, but he's a lot better in this. The other thing that I will say, I knew Josh Brolin was in this movie. I thought he was gonna be an adult. I did not realize the entire time I was watching that he was Brandon.
Do you
'Cause
think he came out of the womb at 50 years old, brother?
literally, I told Ashley, I forgot that he did not just spawn on Earth in his 50s. I forgot he like had to grow up and shit. I didn't realize. I didn't know that was him. I thought and then at the end I was like, "Oh yeah, Josh Brolin was supposed to be in this movie. Where was he?" And he was literally on screen the entire time.
The
Like,
entire time, yeah.
you know that story that Ethan Hawke tells about showing his kids Dead Poet Society for the first time, and 2/3 of the way through the movie they go, "Dad, when are you gonna be in this?" And he's like, "I've been on screen the whole time."
You're like, what
That
the hell are
happened
you
with
talking
me.
about here? No, the movie, like you said, it definitely it it's 80s in the sense it takes on stereotypes. It's got its cliche storytelling concept. It's everything you would expect it to be as
Although
a 80s movie.
I'll say, like, it's cliche it's a cliche 80s movie now, but I do think, like you said, it kind of pioneered what we consider cliche 80s. Like, I don't know, this is kind of the time where, you know, there was this shift and what we know as quote unquote 80s movies, like is this because of this movie. So I'm not so much caught up on like, oh, it's cliche 80s and all the kids are swearing and talking over each other and it's goofy and it doesn't make any sense. Because like that, it's kind of, it's supposed to be that. Like, it's not
Yeah.
really supposed to make any sense.
Well, and it was like you said, it was a turning point, I guess, in this time because I would definitely say like mid 80s, which 1985, that's what this is when like, you know, they really started to take on their own form and their own category of 80s movies and like the Brat Pack was a thing. And this movie was in theaters at the same time as the first Back to the Future film. They were both released in June of 1985. So like that's when like these big movies were just hitting the screen one after the other. And then, you know, like I said, a lot of other ones after it took inspiration from it. Because I mean, a year after this, you would get Stand By Me, which is also huge. And it
Mhm.
also has Corey Feldman. So it definitely like I said, you can't bring up 80s movies without mentioning it at least
Yeah.
once.
I think even though the plot is sometimes a bit incoherent, it does its job having the childhood whimsy and the comedy because like I was laughing the whole time, even
Oh,
though
yeah.
I think it had plot holes. Like I was enjoying myself.
Yeah, it's really they thrive on the fact that it's fun and whimsy and it's these kids going on an adventure like Sean Astin, he in a way improvises this story about One-Eyed Willie and how he, you know, hid his treasure and that one person had to have at least escaped with the map and the key to be able to get into it. And what's funny is like as they're going through the caves and the tunnels, all of the booby traps are like Rube Goldberg machines, which like no pirate would know what that is and do that. But, like, it's just fun and whimsy. That's like the whole point. Like, yes, please show me the marble rolling down the wall 5 times and knocking over the dominoes that's gonna make these boulders fall on me. Like,
So I
That
think
piano as well. It's like a saw trap.
yeah.
what I was looking up because I needed a reminder of what they considered the first blockbuster. I knew it was Spielberg, but it was Jaws,
Mhm.
1975, kind of the
Yes.
first. I mean, like Spielberg is a fucking genius, and all he does is just make huge fucking movies that make a fuck ton of money. And I, something to mention is like kind of in around this time is like Star Wars has come out, which at the time was this like it was this was such a different idea, like having a movie take place in space and like be about like be be what it is. The last one came out in 85. And then you have like the Indiana Jones movies, which are these big, like kind of corny adventure movies that like still have heart, and those have Harrison Ford. And then, like, again, I, and I like Star Wars, and it's corny as fuck. Like what I'm not gonna do is come in here and say that Ashley's favorite movie is maybe a bit too corny for me. Not on her birthday episode, because that would be mean.
Exactly.
It is corny. And like Chloe said, there were times where I was like, I that movie is fucking funny. And I think I don't know what it is, but there is like a this authenticity with the kids. Like the kids are always talking over each other and yelling at each other and correcting each other, and like they're never quite using the right words. And something that we always talk about with Dead Poet Society is how real all of the relationships felt between the boys, because Peter Weir like forced them to all become best friends. And so I think, it's the same thing with like The Outsiders, which came out like a year before, how that group of boys, really got to know each other and they spent a lot of time together and then are kind of all associated together because of that movie. And I think it's the same
Yeah.
thing with the Goonies, is like there is kind of this association with all of those boys together because it felt like they all always hung out and they knew each other and they were best friends. Like all of that is fantastic. I will say that like the setup of their house is going to be demolished for a country club estate. I I have thoughts about that because I think there is an interesting, like, there's a class disparity theme in this, that, like, rich corporations taking advantage of working class people and saying, like, you have to agree to demolish your house. Um, but I don't think there is enough time spent on like that, what this neighborhood is like. It's really just though like that group really hyper focus on, because they say like, guys, they're gonna tear down the goon docks and we're not gonna be Goonies anymore. But it's like we don't really know what the goon docks are. We don't see like a day in the life kind of establishing before we get into
Yeah, they
the
just jump right into it, yeah.
yeah, they really just jump right into the conflict of, oh no, this house is going to be torn down, but it's like And I come to care about that because I come to care about the characters. So it's not necessarily a flaw. I'm just saying they talk about how like, there's this culture of being a Goonie and you come from the Goondocks. Like they talk about it like it is, and I'm sure it is this very kind of prominent part of their personalities and how they grow up is being from this neighborhood specifically. But I don't think I know enough about it to be like and another thing is I think it misses out on the opportunity of, it isn't very often that a nearly, and this is supposed to take place like in Oregon, and I don't think they take advantage of mentioning, and this isn't supposed to be a politically charged movie, but I don't think they take advantage of mentioning how neighborhoods where it's predominantly minorities are usually the victims of this. We're tearing down these houses to make a country club estate. It's predominantly white kids, and there's data who's Chinese. Or it's not like, I mean, I guess this isn't supposed to be like Portland, so maybe I'm am not caught up on my Oregon diversity. But yeah, we don't need to talk about that. Let's just talk about the adventure.
No, you're good. So I was gonna say, calling back on, you were mentioning like the real relationships, and that's a reason I love this movie for sure, and that's why I love Dead Poet Society. And you brought up The Outsiders, which is another one of my favorites. And I think what can kind of connect all of those is that the directors were all pivotal in making that. Like you mentioned, Peter Weir making sure that the relationships felt real with the boys, and even filming it in order so that they could make like Bobby leave set. So it would feel real to the boys that he was gone. And the same thing with The Outsiders. Francis Ford Coppola, he actually he did everything he could to make it real for the boys. So like any of the boys that played Socs, he put them in like the nicest hotels, and then he would put like any of the greaser boys in kind of like shitty motel situations. He even wanted Matt Dillon to spend a night in prison for the film, to be able to fulfill that like bad hood character that's
and
in
instead of that happening, Matt Dillon just tried to break the law to get sent to prison anyway.
Yeah, which Matt Dillon actually refused. That was the one thing he was like, I'm not spending the night in jail. He's like, I'll do everything else. But they really wanted to create that dynamic of friendship between them and the rift between the characters too. And it's the same with the Goonies. So Steven Spielberg was originally the head of the film, and he had promised Corey Feldman, who he had worked with on Gremlins before, that he could be a part of it. And then something ended up happening where Steven Spielberg had to step down and pass over the director position to Richard Donner, which made it so Corey Feldman had to re-audition instead of just being given the part. And he was so nervous when he met Richard Donner, he wouldn't shut the hell up. And Richard Donner immediately was like, yeah, you're our mouth. Like, you're it. You're here, you're staying. But those kids were all very close together, like you said. And it's kind of funny. Richard Donner always said that the first thing he was going to do when they were done filming was he was going to go to his beach house in Hawaii and get away from them damn Goonies. And the parents actually put together and flew all the Goonies kids out to Richard Donner's Hawaii beach house. So when he showed up, they were all there after filming.
I would have fucking killed those parents if I was Richard Donner.
But like that's what makes those movies still authentic to this day, is that those relationships were real. Like that's what makes it.
And I mean all of the movies that we've mentioned just now of like Richard Donner, Peter Weir, the other person we mentioned, Steven Spielberg, like they're like, these are not just like your run of the mill. These are legendary directors, and this is why, is because they make these iconic movies, and they make the actors like do shit that isn't acting, like sending one of them to prison, and making them all hang out together. And all of that is why these movies are so iconic. Um, but what was the other thing I wanted to say? Right. The nicknames happening so I already mentioned like Sloth for the mentally slow character, Mouth for the language kid, Chunk for the slightly bigger character. Like, I'm just
In Data for the Chinese, like, smart character.
yeah, and that's not even like I don't do we ever learn any of their real names?
Yeah, so, the parents will use them. So Mouth's real name is, Clark, Chunks is Lawrence, and Data's is Richard.
Richard.
Yes.
Richard.
So they don't really mention Data's as much because he definitely is not really a Richard. He's definitely more Data, but
Right.
There's Clark and Lawrence.
The like nerve house fucking basement that they go into, which leads them to the treasure that's all tripped out with booby traps. It like I would love to see a map of the adventure they took to get to their final destination. Because I was having trouble like trying to remember where they were, where they're coming from, where they could have gone. Data almost dies twice because he keeps falling through the floor. Like he falls through a floor and he falls through like a trap door and he almost fucking hits the ground.
If it wasn't for his Pinter's apparel, they saved him.
Right. That's the thing, is he has all of these gadgets attached to him. He has this one that is like teeth, it's like a
Yeah, that's Pinter's apparel.
yeah.
They're the chatter teeth, the wind-up teeth.
Yeah, that somehow supports the weight of this 9-year-old to not get fucking murked by the ground. Also, Brandon goes after them because they're missing, and Brandon like picks up two of his friends to come along, Steph and Andy, and there's this whole thing with Steph and Andy and the children. It's both of them. Because Andy, and it's supposed to be like Andy and Brandon are paired, but then she accidentally kisses Sean Astin's character, and she's like, "Does Brenda's character wear braces? Like, fucking moron! No, you just kissed a 9-year-old."
That 9-year-old consistently tries to steal his brother's girl, though. He's like, "Oh, it might be scary. Maybe you could hold my hand."
Which, like, you expect
Mikey's
from a 9-year-old, because, like, that's what 9-year-olds do.
I think the real age gap is the boys are 13 and then Brand, Andy, and Steph are 16. But what's funny about, so Brand and Andy are like, they're supposed to be the main couple, and then Mikey's flirting with Andy and thinks she's cute too. But then they do the random off pairing of like Steph and Mouth, which is kind of like enemies to like lovers, low key.
Ew.
Like they're mean to each other and they don't like each other, but then like by the end of it, they're fond of one another and they're like kind of
Buddies.
flirty.
Enemies
And
to
it's
friends.
13-year-old boy. You are 16 years old, Queen. That's a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah. That is, you're in very different stages
Yeah.
of your life. When you're 16, you got a lot of things on your mind. You're coming up on taking the ACTs and the SATs. You're probably thinking about like colleges. You're thinking about your career, what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Like when I was 13, I was on season 10 of Supernatural. Like I was in a completely different spot in my life. between those two ages. I just I say this a lot, but if I was 16, I would not even be breathing in the direction of a 13-year-old. That is we are keeping
No.
it it's just it's weird. And it's not even played off as like it isn't like, oh, you know, you're 13 and you're just being a cute guy, I'll kiss you on the cheek, whatever. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, calling back to your you were saying you were having a hard time keeping track of like where they were going and location. I agree. I definitely think that's one of like the endearing parts of it is you know that it isn't accurate, but you just accept it for what it is because mind you, these boys ride their bikes to the coast to find the entrance to these tunnels. But one of the first rooms they come upon is a room full of pipes that they all begin hitting and shaking to try and get someone's attention to get them out. And all of a sudden, like the pipes are shaking like underneath like the country club and stuff like that. So it's like, now did they move back further into town? Kind of thing. Funny thing with the pipes too is I'm just full of fun facts about this movie because that's all I do is look up shit about this
Yeah.
movie.
No, go
But
off.
there was originally a whole plot line that was removed from this movie where they shook the pipes and it accidentally released the gorillas at the zoo. And so while they underground going through these tunnels, there was also supposed to be cutscenes happening of like people chasing down the gorillas in town that were like taking over. Kind of glad that it got deleted. I think there was a whole scene where like a gorilla stole a cop car even. And like when you watch this movie now, you know for a fact that shit was never gonna fit. It probably would have ruined the movie. It would have been the explorers actually showing the aliens had they done it.
Yeah, that's kind of a like Gremlins and Jumanji crossover.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then another fun fact is Michael Jackson was actually on set the day they filmed the scene where they're hitting and shaking the pipes, which is kind of cool. That's a fun thing to like think about. Like low key, like they just had like big names of the 80s showing up because it's a Steven Spielberg, Richard Donner film. And they're like, "Oh, hey, by the way, like Michael Jackson's going to come hang out on set today."
Did Michael Jackson and Corey Feldman not have there was something.
So that they were really good friends, but this was when they met actually. And Corey Feldman was a big Michael Jackson fan. And what does he say? He says loose pressure or something in that scene. He's supposed to yell it, and he wasn't getting his line right that day. And Richard Donner finally was like, "Hey, I wasn't going to tell you this because I wanted it to be a surprise, but Michael Jackson's about to be here. So, like, you got to figure this shit out." So, the scene they actually use in the movie is like his excited loose pressure because he knew Michael Jackson was going to be there that day, which is kind of cool. That's kind of fun. But I don't think they became friends until a little later on after this. Like, they just met.
Well, no, I was wondering, 'cause Michael Jackson is allegedly a pedophile. I thought their names were connected, but I couldn't remember if there was if
Various reasons.
yeah, if there was something nefarious between them. I can't remember now.
So a lot of that history, at least what I know of it, is I read Corey Feldman's autobiography, and he never mentioned Michael Jackson being weird to him. Like obviously there was an age gap there, but like they would like go undercover and hang out at like Disney World together or Disneyland, whatever's the California one, Disneyland.
Yeah.
And like Corey Feldman never, I guess, talked illy of him, so I wouldn't know. But there were rumors. I mean, people did look on and go, "Why is Michael Jackson, who's a grown ass man, friends with this child of the 80s?" Like, that is a little suspicious. There was for sure side eye happening there.
Yeah, well, because I think it was the same thing with like Macaulay Culkin. They were also friends but he says that nothing happened to him, which, you know, I'll believe that, you know. I don't know. I thought I remembered there being something else. We don't need to talk about it right now, but
the pipe scene. Can we also talk about the timing of us talking about this film and the parallels that are happening currently with Stranger Things?
No, literally, Stranger Things came out, and the whole Mr. What's-It scene is a callback to the pipe scene in the Goonies. I even wrote it in my notes here. I wrote Mr. What's-It in parentheses.
Cheese puff.
Yeah, which I mean, like, it very much is, because, you know, you have the pipes bursting and then the kids are going down into the tunnels. Like, Goonies callback right there. Hilarious.
Brand's outfit inspiring Elle. Like, they just keep coming.
Yeah, good times. The volume 1 of Stranger Things was far too hilarious.
I haven't seen it.
You got to. B, I was just telling you. You got to.
When I'm not dying, maybe.
Okay, slay. But yeah, so then after the pipes, they go into like under the wishing well, which is where you get your don't say that, never say that, Goonies never say die, paired with this is our time speech, which is one of the most quotable speeches of an 80s film. You know, you throw that in with all of your normal things and callback references. But then, like, after the well, they're back over by, like, the ocean again. It would be cool to see visually how they traveled underground, because it's just all over the place. Because by the time they make it back out, they're back on the coast. Like, they come out on the beach.
I'm reading, this is what I was thinking of, is in 2005, Michael Jackson was he was accused of his things. This was the 2005 time. And Corey Feldman was subpoenaed to testify against him. And he basically made this public statement where he said, like, God, I really hope that that is not true. But if it is true, if, you know, if they find that there's enough evidence against him, he should absolutely be punished but he said that, because it was child molestation that he was being accused of. Michael Jackson never touched him inappropriately. There was never any sexual contact or anything. But then he said that there were things that were inappropriate and wrong, because the quote is, if you consider it inappropriate for a man to look at a book of naked pictures with a child that's 13 or 14 years old, then your answer would be yes. And he said, we went to his apartment and I noticed a book that he had out on his coffee table. The book contained pictures of grown men and women naked, and the book was focused on venereal diseases and the genitalia. I was kind of grossed out by it, but I didn't think of it as a big deal, and for all these years, I probably never thought twice about it. But in light of recent events, I have to say, if my son was 14 years old and went to a man's apartment that was 35, and I knew they were sitting down together talking about this, I would probably beat his ass.
Oh, jeez. So that's what he didn't know anything about that, and Corey definitely did not write about it in his autobiography.
When did that come out? I'm curious.
I wonder, so I've got to look it up, because in the very end of the book, he talks about going to Michael Jackson and being like, hey, just so you know, I wrote this. I'm gonna publish it and you're in it a lot because you were part of my life. And Michael Jackson gets upset with him because this is right when the, you know, pedophilia rumors are starting to come down. And he was like, I do not want anybody to take what you write out of context, no matter if it's good or bad, because at the end of the day, I was a grown man hanging out with a 13, 14-year-old boy. And it actually like kind of ruined their friendship. And I don't think they ever, you know, smooth things over before Michael passed. Okay, and I think this in 2001 the chapter happened. So this might have been right before maybe he had said that.
Yeah, well, so that article that I was reading from is from 2005, and it mentions that they had some kind of falling out in
Yeah.
2001 that he said
Yep.
was not related to other stuff that was going on. He said it was something completely different. Um, but I I'm I get incredibly suspicious of uh anyone who was in or around Michael Jackson's scene because of the everything that happened with him. But Corey Feldman said that nothing happened, but he did look at a book of genitalia together, which is, I mean,
What I will say, like I said, I've never gone into research or anything about Michael Jackson and that stuff, but Corey Feldman's whole thing, especially because Corey Haim being one of his best friends, like he still to this day has defended him against the pedophilia that did happen to Corey Haim from other actors and directors and stuff like that. So I would hope that Corey wouldn't be like a hypocrite and be like,
mhm,
let me fight and defend the honor of my best friend in the entire world, but also not come forward about something that happened to me.
mhm.
So I would hope that he would at least, be somewhat normal in that aspect,
Yeah.
but you never know. I mean, it's Hollywood. It's beyond us at this
It's
point.
also like, we're not entitled to know if something happened
Yeah.
to him. It is just it's one of those things, but yeah. And Michael Jackson being invited onto a set of a movie where the cast is children, it just makes me go, "Oh."
Just
Yeah,
do
it's
it.
like, wait
Oh,
a
things that make
minute.
you go, hmm.
Things that make you go,
Yeah.
"Hmm, maybe not."
Uh,
Anyway, that was that
yeah.
sorry. Let's get back to the I keep saying let's get back to the fun and whimsy, and then I'm like, Michael Jackson was a pedophile.
No, you're good. I mean, I could talk about the Goonies and 80s related all of these relationships for hours on end, but I'm sure we're getting close to the end of this. Is there anything else anyone wants to mention about the Goonies before I get into my fun little thing here?
Me, it's the way Data talks about himself in the third person,
Yeah.
because that comes out of nowhere as some weird
Yeah,
stress
like
response.
two-thirds of the way through the movie, he starts
Yeah.
talking about himself in the third person like he's Elmo. Um, yeah, that is bizarre. I'll say,
Personally, I just think the delivery on the line when they, at the beginning of the movie when they break the statue and they put the penis on upside down, but when they break it, I can't remember what character says it, but it just goes, "But that's her favorite part," referring to his
It's
mom.
Mikey goes, "That's my mom's most favorite piece," and Mouth goes, "You wouldn't be here if it wasn't."
Yeah.
I
It's just the delivery of the line is so good.
I do like that every line from the child actors are delivered like they have just been like told what to say for the first time. Like so, they're all great. They're great actors. They're great kids. But the way Sean Astin talks in some of those scenes is like he's reading directly from the script.
And then you have Chunk doing a Catholic confession about everything he's ever done wrong in his
Yeah, I would
life.
say that's probably one of my favorite parts only because I mean, not only is it hilarious and Jeff Cohen for this being his only like huge hit he ever did, he somehow manages to stay in character and cry the entire time while he confesses to everything he's done wrong in his childhood, all while Robert Davi, who's, as professional of an actor as they come in this kind of film, is literally breaking character and laughing because he can't handle it. Like the Chunk is just killing him, telling him this story about making a theater full of people barf all over each other, and he can't hold back his giggles in the scene. And it's just funny to see the dynamic of like this kid stay in character, and then there's Robert Davi who's like hiding his mouth behind his hand because he just can't do it.
But let's get into your red string theory here.
Yes.
The murder board.
Yeah, your cork
My
board.
murder board, which is not fully complete because I'll admit I'm sure there's more, and I just have to discover them as it goes. But even though both of these movies were not about Dead Poet Society, I had to make it about Dead Poet Society in some way. Because as we go through all of these films and we've been watching stuff, all I have noticed is the insane amount of acting connections from Goonies actors to Dead Poet Society actors. And pretty much every actor within the two has at least worked on one project with the other.
Yeah.
So I wrote a list in no particular order, but you got Dylan Cussman, our Richard Cameron, who was in Brat Patrol with Sean Astin. And then you got Al, our Charlie, who did a Murder, She Wrote episode with Carrie Green, Andy and the Goonies, and then Under Surveillance with Robert Davi, his partner, and Fertelli brother. Ethan Hawke did Explorers with Jason Presson, who is the best friend of Sean Astin in Brat Patrol, which has Dylan Cussman in it, like I mentioned. Like it literally keeps going. It's crazy. Robert Sean Leonard did Safe Passage with Sean Astin, which conveniently also stars Jason London, who is in Man on the Moon, a movie we've already discussed because Sam Waterston is in it, and he's James' dad. Josh Charles did Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead with Keith Coogan, who was just in Toy Soldiers that we mentioned. He played Snuffy. And he did Pie in the Sky with Will Wheaton, also in Toy Soldiers with Sean Astin. And then you got Lara Flynn Boyle, who she was in Where the Day Takes You with Sean Astin, and Threesome with Josh Charles, obviously.
He was also in the deleted scenes in Dead Poet Society.
Yes, yeah, and I know there's more. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. You ever hear people nowadays be like, all Hollywood movies just star the same 5 people. We need to go back to just picking people out of high school and do every fucking movie since the beginning of history. They've had their handful of stars, like in the 30s, 40s, 50s, every fucking movie. Cary Grant, James Stewart, Gregory Peck, Audrey Hepburn, Katharine Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe. And then in the 80s, you have everyone in Dead Poet Society has been in the same fucking movies as Sean Astin and Will Wheaton and Jason London. Like, since the beginning of time, they have had their favorites. They've always had favorites. I guess the difference is these days, well, so back in the day, way back, it was always like kind of already rich people who could afford to go to Juilliard and stuff, or go to an academy, who then go on to become big movie stars. And then there was this era of having kind of, newcomers where it was a lot of movies starring teenagers, like The Outsiders and Dead Poet Society, where they literally just said out to the city of New York, if you are between the ages of 16 and 20, come audition for this movie. And everyone did. And they picked out those 7. I'm sure Sean Astin auditioned for Dead Poet Society. I'm sure River Phoenix, another one who is in like every movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I think nowadays we see a lot of people who maybe don't come from like not what we would consider, I'm thinking just like actors who straight up lived in like nice homes, and they always lived in the good parts of town, and then they came up and they were incredibly charming and they had like a thing about them. They weren't really coming from working class families or even middle class. But now I don't think they tried to hide that necessarily. I think nowadays people like hearing, oh yeah, they just had auditions at my school and I went and auditioned and I was in this huge movie. People like hearing those stories. They don't like hearing, oh yeah, my dad's a producer and he put me in the movie and now everyone knows who I am. But they don't want to say that because people don't like hearing it. But that is what a lot of, that's how a lot of people come up, or, they do come from high class families that are able to pay to send them to NYU, or again, Juilliard, or Yale, or Harvard. And yeah, like, I guess my point is there have always been brat packs. There have always been the same five actors. It's just our interpretation of the same five actors, quote unquote, is different.
Yeah, it's become different for sure.
I think also, like, there was a time, if you can believe it, where, like, the intimate personal lives of celebrities were not at, like, the amount of celebrities was not as prevalent, before social media is, obviously, like, Marilyn Monroe had a lot of stuff with the press and people were very interested in her and what her life was like. And I'm not saying that, you know, that obviously happened then and it happened in the 80s. I can't think of an example, but it did happen. But, like, I mean, with all peace and love, who the fuck cares about what 20-year-old Robert Sean Leonard is doing day to day? No one. But now, if you're in entertainment, being known to the public, being likable on social media is like a huge part of the job now. Like, social media is part of their job. And so instead of them being able to just be low key and just be actors and hanging out, they have to have this presence to the public. And I think that that is very interesting. And just a side tangent to your corkboard red string connections. I hope that we can keep that updated because I do think it's funny to just see how every movie is the same 10 people.
No, literally. I will keep it updated and keep track of it for sure. But I mean, other than that, other than my connections, I don't think there's much more I want to go on about. Thank you
Yeah,
for
I
doing
think,
my birthday episode with me and watching my movies.
yeah. Yeah, I think this will be the last episode that we upload this year. Or yeah, it should be the last one we upload this year. Maybe I can't remember now if our next episode's going to be we're tier ranking all of the movies that we talked about on the pod. I don't know if that'll be this year or next year, but that is what we'll do next. I just know that based on our schedule. And then B, her birthday is late January, and we'll have an episode for her. For her babes. Hopefully she's not sick anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a great year, and many more
Happy
episodes.
holidays, Happy New Year.
Yeah, many more
Thanks.
episodes for 2026, hopefully. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Love you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.